Betting Weekly live tennis rolls along. It is another great opportunity to talk tennis on the show that will keep you up to speed with all the best bets, all the best action on the Bet Rivers Network. It's Betting Weekly live tennis. Again, follow the socials because we win and download that Bet Rivers app. We're talking Madrid Open. We've got live action. We've got plays. We've got a daily double, all that and more. Joining me on this episode of the show, first time doing a show, real treat for me. He's a co-host of the Betting Weekly WTA show. Had a great run of picks and winners yesterday. Rory Jawani on the show. Rory, welcome to the show. Really fun and excited to talk some Madrid Open with you.
Yeah, hi Mitch. Good to meet you finally. And looking forward to doing this. Of course, I live in Madrid, and pleased to say, I don't know if you can see behind me, but it's quite sunny here for a change. It's been pretty miserable for the last few weeks, but the sun has come out for the tennis. And
Wow.
of course, we've got the women's main draw started today. And the men's kicks off tomorrow. And the women's, it's already been really interesting. Just watched a match just now, really exciting, between Hailey Baptiste and Sorana Cîrstea. Baptiste was actually a moneyline favourite, which was a bit of a surprise to me because Cîrstea's a hardened veteran on clay, very experienced, good clay player. Baptiste prefers faster surfaces, but Madrid, see, altitude is quite a big factor here. So that gives the bigger hitters and the bigger servers a chance. And Baptiste won on a third set tiebreak. Really exciting. We've got a couple of matches live, which we'll look at. And we'll look ahead to some of tomorrow's action when, as I say, the men's gets underway.
Yeah, Madrid, you live in there. That's a new one. So I got to write that down. You're the real expert this week. This is your time to shine. So this week and next week. But yeah, Baptiste, I was not expecting her to pull through. That was very impressive. We were talking about that match yesterday, myself and Dustin Fox, regarding that match. And yeah, props to her beating the wily veteran. I'll admit that was wrong, but Rory, the one that I got right though, and I saw it coming because of the theory I have, but Buzos Monteiro, the Spanish girl, winning that match today against Maya Sharif, came in as the underdog. That one just didn't sit right with me, how that line looked, and I thought she'd play well, and she cruised to victory. So props to the local Spanish girl for the round one win.
Yeah, absolutely. Sheriff was one of my outright picks, so I was a bit disappointed with that one because Sheriff won the Challenger event in Madrid last week. Buzos Monteiro, who last season she had some good results on the ITF tour, but couldn't win a match on the WTA. This season, she's really picked up. She's having a very good year. I thought it would be tough for Sheriff. I thought she'd get through, but Buzos Monteiro won quite comfortably in the end. And she had a good week in Rouen last week, had a couple of good results this year. So, the locals tend to go well here. And, there's plenty of home support. We'll see Paula Badosa, although she's got a bit of an injury down. Obviously, the men's, we've got Carlos Alcaraz, who'll be the centre of attention. But it's a good tournament, and the crowd really gets into it, especially in the night matches.
They do. They certainly do. It's fun. It's going to be exciting. And as we mentioned, there's a lot of live action. You can go on Bet Rivers if you're on the app, if you're on the desktop, watch a lot of these matches too, pretty much all of them too, to keep up with your bets and the drama. We have 2 matches in Madrid in the main draw going on right now. They still have some qualifying on the women's side. So 2 women's main draw matches, 2 qualifying matches in action for the women. And we have 3 qualifying matches on the men's side. The women, and maybe not the best time to get a bet unless you think a major comeback's coming, but Katie Boulter is leading Siniakova 5-1 in that decider. And Rory, you dropped some knowledge before we started. This would be Katie Boulter's first main draw win here. So hard to believe, right? An accomplished player like Katie Boulter looking to break the ice, and really close to doing so.
Yeah, she's a bit allergic to clay early in her career, so she's had some success on hard courts. I think she won a 500 last year in San Diego. But last year, she actually made her main draw clay court debut. That was at Madrid. She went out first round to Robin Montgomery. She hasn't had a main draw win. She hasn't played that many matches, in fairness to her. But clay's never been her surface. But today, she was an underdog against Katerina Siniakova, who's experienced player, great doubles player, of course. Siniakova won the first set. I think Boulter was like plus 120, plus 125 on the money line before play. Yeah. But Boulter won the second set 6-2, and she's 5-1 up in the decider, and she might get it back to deuce. Yep, she just played one down the line. So it's back to deuce on the Siniakova serve. Siniakova serving to stay in the match. But a great comeback from Boulter. I have to say, didn't expect this. As I say, so little experience on clay, not her surface.
Yeah.
As we say about Madrid, it's a bit different from the normal clay tournaments. With the altitude, it does the bigger servers and the bigger hitters a chance, and Boulter's taking full advantage.
We'll see that in the men's game, especially, right? Like the bigger servers can really have success in this tournament. The other women's main draw match just started. Lulu's son taking on Varvara. Gracheva at minus 235 favorite. She's in a deuce game in the first game. A lot of tennis left, obviously, but what do you think about that, Rory? Is people maybe wanting to jump in live? Gracheva, the favorite. We remember Lulu's son from Wimbledon making that run last year. Don't know much. I mean, her clay results haven't been otherworldly, but what do you think about that line and maybe some live betting angles in this other main draw match in play?
Yeah, I think Sun's like Boulter in that I don't think she's won a main draw match on clay. Although, having said that, last May in Florida, she did win an ITF 100K event. So she's not a complete mug on the surface. The bigger concern for her is her form of late. I mean, she had a couple of good wins at Indian Wells. Apart from that, she's really struggled this year. Gracheva's been a bit in and out as well, although she did beat Cartal in Rouen last week. And just to say that Boulter's completed victory, 6-1 in the third. So she's through to round 2. Gracheva, she fell to Cartal in Rouen, and then she beat Cartal in Rouen, then she fell to Jessica Buzas-Minero, who we discussed earlier. And Gracheva's actually got a 1-0 head-to-head record. She beat Sun in Auckland at the start of last year. So you'd think everything is going for Gracheva here, but as you say, Sun had that good run in Wimbledon. She is a good server. If she can get that going here, it gives her a chance. And Gracheva's just held serve in that opening game. So Sun now plus 210. That might look a big price. We'll see how she's serving early on.
We certainly will. Shout out to the comments. You can join the show. Ming Chung there. Yeah, Rory, you got to be excited for the French Open. There's just a lot of lead up. This is the best in terms of the runway. I think it's safe to say this is the best lead up to a major. You have all these clay events. You're going all through Europe and you're just gathering data as we move along. And I did mention qualifying going on the men's side. A couple interesting matchups. The one I had my eye on because, as an American, we've noticed this guy, but Ethan Quinn's in a battle with Monteiro. Quinn pushed Alcaraz. I think he played it maybe one of his best matches as a pro in Barcelona and pushing Alcaraz to 2 tight sets. But Quinn looking for that breakthrough win, trying to get to the Madrid main draw. It is 2-all in the third set. Monteiro on serve. Quinn is a plus 117 underdog. So maybe there's a chance to break through. We've never seen it happen, but this could be a moment for the young American former college national champion.
Yeah, that would be a big win for him against Monteiro. But once you get down to the nitty gritty in the third set, I mean, you're a brave man if you get involved in betting at this stage. I personally, I don't like betting on the third set and in play. I just, especially women's tennis is my thing, and anything can happen in the third set. And
does it matter? Does it matter one way or the other if you have a player that you like? Does the serving first part matter? Whoever goes serving up, so that's first, part of it. Yeah.
Matters more in the men's game. I mean, obviously breaks are easier to come by in the women's. But for me, it's usually, you'd think, the theory goes, if someone wins the second set, they might win, break to win the second set, or they win the second set comfortably. You'd think that they have the momentum going into the third set. Yeah. It doesn't happen in the women's game. I don't think it happens that much in the men's game either, but it certainly doesn't happen often in a women's game. If you just bet on the winner of the second set to go on and win the match in the women's game, you'd probably be in the poorhouse. So it's one that I tend to avoid. But I think in the men's game, especially if you're serving first, that's a big advantage.
Well, other qualifying match. If you want to bet on this match, Fognini and Rinky Hijikata, you're a braver man than me because Fabio, I don't know what to do with him. I'm a fan. I like watching him, but I would think, Rory, that the older Fognini who had to battle to win last match going up against a younger player, that might be tough to foul that up, but maybe not. I don't know. Fabio just proves people wrong, so I'm staying away, but it should be entertaining.
It should be. I mean, he's a -165 favorite, which
No.
Part of me just thinks, is he just going to save himself for Rome? Is he actually bothered about playing here in Madrid? I just get the impression that in Rome, then he'll be fully keyed up. But who knows with Fognini? I mean, he's one of the most unpredictable players about, isn't he? He's been around for so long. He's had some great days. I mean, obviously, his best days are behind him, but you just never know with him, do you?
You never know, and he is a showman too. So we'll see how Hijikata can handle everything that goes with playing Fognini, everything else outside of maybe the tennis. But I think it's a good time, Rory, here on the Bet Rivers Betting Weekly Live Tennis on the Bet Rivers Network to discuss your daily double. We like to do that each week and each show, I should say. And you mentioned WTA tennis is where you revel, where you shine. You picked a couple interesting matchups. I'm really, really fascinated by, the fact that these are the two matches you picked. So we're going to tee them up here. Lamens to beat Raducanu as a slight underdog there, and Andreescu to beat McCartney Kessler. That match I had circled before I even knew you had a play on it. So walk me through why those two matches are your daily double and how you think those two will play out.
Well, Lamens Raducanu, I thought it would almost be a pick and match, to be honest. So I was a bit surprised, very surprised to see Lamens as a +160 dog. I mean, Raducanu just doesn't play much on clay, and her record is pretty poor. Last year in Madrid, she fell in the first round to Maria Lourdes Carle, the Argentine, a real clay court specialist. And you kind of thought in Madrid with the altitude, Raducanu would have a chance there. But Carle beat her very comfortably. This is her debut on the dirt. Whereas Lamens really likes clay. She had a good run in Rouen last week. She beat Linda Noskova very comfortably.
She beat Andreescu too, right?
And she beat Andreescu. Yeah. And, she made the semis in Rouen. Last April, she won the Challenger in Oeiras in Portugal on clay. She beat Clara Towson in the final. She's won a WTA event on hard court in Osaka last October. She's a decent server as well. So I think any advantage Raducanu might get from the altitude, I think Lamens is going to have that as well. +160 is an enormous price. I wish I could just have a daily single, to be honest, but that would be my bet. That's my bet of the day. I just think it's the wrong price about a player who's a good clay player against Raducanu, who hasn't played much of late. She's obviously had issues. Players can serve aces on here. We just see that comment on here. Yeah. Quinn served 10 aces.
Well, that's the other side.
He's
going
quick
maybe
through the air.
Going a little too big too can be the downfall, right? Like, I guess that's part of it, is that you feel confident, like, oh, you can serve aces here. You go a little bigger than maybe you should as the matches tighten up. But yeah, I'm with you. Sometimes you got to look at the odds and be like, does this make sense? Is this overpriced? And look, let's just be honest, Rory. Do you get a bump by being a bigger name in the sport? I think that happens too. If you're a little more popular, there might be a bump in there as well. On the other pick on that one, Andreescu Kessler. Kessler had a great college career, a little later to getting to the pro level, but wins the title in Cleveland, is pretty much still completing her rookie year. Andreescu is always fascinating because the questions with her, she can play well on clay, but is she holding up physically? In that loss to Lamens last week, she did hold up physically. It wasn't about breaking down or any injury. So that is a positive sign. And I'd like to think that's that's kind of what I would think going into this match, why Andreescu is the pick.
Yeah, I mean, she took her to a third set tiebreak. And against Lamens, who, as I say, is a good clay court player. That was her first match for 6 months, Andreescu. She had an emergency appendectomy in February. I mean, she just can't catch a break, can she? But she's a Grand Slam winner. She won a slam. Kessler has never won a main draw match on clay.
You've said that a few times today, by the way. It's funny, and they're all good players.
She lost last week to Fiona Ferro in 3 sets, who top 100 at her best, but
Uh-huh.
well outside that at the moment.
Yeah.
Andreescu, the narrow favourite at -121, and it's one, as people will know, I don't like minus money picks generally. So at -121, it's one for the parlays. And I think that would be the second part of my daily double. So Lamens at +160, Andreescu at -121, which I did say, oh yeah, it's +376. I did calculate earlier.
Right.
So the daily double pays +376. I think, well, I'm fairly confident. I think Lamens has a great chance. I just think that's the wrong price.
Maybe you want a daily single. Maybe you just want to stick to Lamens as the bet of the day, but also, hey, the daily double's there for that too. Andreescu on clay. Andreescu's had success, so I think there's an opportunity there, and she knows how to handle these moments. So that's a fun one. That's a fascinating one. Other live notes as we update the board. Gracheva runs to an early 3-love lead. Sun looking to get her first game in her column on the match. Quinn is a game point away from making it 3-all in that third set as that match trudges on, and Fognini on serve up 4-3. So those are some matches. We do have a couple main draw matches coming up still to play. The last match of the day in Madrid for the women, Peyton Stearns versus Katie Birrell, is the one I have in mind. We talked about Stearns yesterday on the show. She is a -230 favorite in this match. Birrell is +180, and Stearns making the coaching change, trying to get back on track. Still a very young player with a lot of potential. But what do we think about this price, -230? Is that the right number? And is that something that you would consider backing or dishing out as advice?
I think it's a little short. I mean, she's a better clay court player. She won the title in Rabat last year, just before the French Open. And Birrell, Birrell's in the form of her life, although all her form is on hardcore. She doesn't have much experience on clay. This is one where I'll be interested to see how it starts, because, as I say, my inkling is that Birrell might be a bit big, the Australian Kimberly Birrell. At +180, I think it just could be a little bit big, especially as we say about Madrid. It is faster than normal clay. If it was normal clay in slow, I mean, what you were saying about the sort of build up to the French Open, you do have a good build up in terms of clay, but the French Open is proper kind of slow clay.
They're all different, yeah. Like the tournaments are, the tournaments are slightly different, yeah.
Yes, I mean, you had Stuttgart last week, which was indoors, so quicker, and Rouen last week as well was indoors, the 250. This week you've got Madrid, the 1000 at altitude, a bit quicker. Rome is probably the closest one to Roland Garros in terms of the pace. And then the week before you have Rabat and Strasbourg, I think, if memory serves. So, and last year, of course, well, a couple of years back, you go back a few years, Barbara Krejcikova won Strasbourg and then followed up in the French Open. And this year you had Madison Keys winning the week before the Australian Open and then winning the Slam. So, don't be put off by someone, usually the big names skip the week before, it's not a hindrance. It doesn't seem to be a hindrance anymore. But I think Birrell, given the way she's playing, she is in the form of her life. I'd just like to see the first couple of games before I get involved in that, because I just think that Stearns might be a bit short.
It's a smart way to look at it too. Either way, if you have a read, just let the match settle in. Live betting is the way to go a lot of times. You got to see, especially starting out the tournament, how these players look as they begin their Madrid campaigns. Well, Rory Giovanni here, Bet Rivers Network, presenting Betting Weekly Live Tennis. We want to look a little bit ahead to tomorrow, and we'll peek back into the live action. But we've got an order of play. We've got the men's draw starting. We've got some big women's matchups. Anything standing out to you? I was looking at the schedule before. Kvitova taking on Volynets is a tricky one. You've also got Goffin versus Mueller, Hales versus Luciano Darderi. So anything stand out? Any matches you've got your eye on for tomorrow as the main draw really kicks off?
Yeah, I thought there are a couple of women's matches that are interesting. One you mentioned there, Kvitova Volynets. I mean, Kvitova's a 3-time champion here, but she hasn't won a match since returning from her baby break. Volynets was a first-round casualty a couple of years ago, didn't make it out of the qualifiers last year. And Volynets is better on a slow surface. That's where she's, that's where she's at her best. She did reach the final in Portugal, Oeiras, the challenger event at the weekend. It wasn't the strongest of fields. I just feel, I mean, I backed Kvitova against Sofia Kenin in Miami, another venue where Kvitova's had great success in the past. Didn't work out. I just feel at some point, Kvitova's she must be improving, getting back into things. Back in Madrid, I mean, she's plus 150, which I think is a big price.
I agree.
It would only be a lean, but if she can get that serve going, Volynets, she gave Aryna Sabalenka a scare in Rome last year. She's very good on conventional clay. But as I keep saying, this is a bit quicker than normal. Kvitova's won this tournament 3 times. If she's gonna, break her duck at some point on her return, this will be the place. And I think she's got a chance here.
Yeah, that Birrell match was kind of crazy. Kvitova started out great, and then just, I don't know if it was conditioning or just not having that repetition. But yeah, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen now. I want to shout out that comment to Mandeep Singh because, this is what I said it yesterday. I do like Azarenka a lot. You can get her at plus 150 against Olga coming off of a long run in that match. I think Azarenka, this is a spot for her to have some value in this one. Olga Danilovic, Rory, has been playing well, but I don't know. This could be a trap match for her as a minus 190 favorite.
Yeah, and shout out to Mandeep, who's quite a regular contributor and always has some good thoughts. Nigel and I backed Danilovic for Rouen. Obviously, she got to the final. Bit of a bad beat in a second set tiebreak. She had enough chances to win it, but she couldn't quite get it done. And, she always is a bit suspect physically. Having said that, Victoria Azarenka is not the player she was. So, that's a tricky one. You could make a case for Azarenka just because Danilovic is coming off a long week. But Azarenka never been the best on clay.
Right.
Even though it's a bit quicker here than normal clay. Not a match I particularly like to get involved with personally. One match I am interested in, though, which is the other women's match I'm interested in. We'll look at the men shortly. Ashlyn Kruger against Anastasia Potapova.
I'm dying to hear your thoughts because another American bias, but Kruger passes the eye test as a potential top 10 quality player. But is she ready for this moment? Potapova, that line is minus 121 on Bet Rivers for Potapova, minus 103 for Kruger. But yeah, Roy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, Potapova's got a bit of an injury scare because she beat Clara Towson last week in Stuttgart, and then almost straight after the match, she withdrew from the next round against Aryna Sabalenka, saying she'd got an old injury. Last year, I went to Madrid and I watched Kruger beat Katerina Alexandrova. And she played very well. Alexandrova was really out of sorts, just didn't look like she wanted to be there. But Kruger, she's tall, she's got a big serve, which is a big asset here in Madrid. Obviously, earlier this year, she reached the final in Abu Dhabi, lost out to Belinda Bencic. She is better on a faster court. Madrid should suit her. Potapova, better on a slower surface. But with that injury doubt, I think Kruger at minus 103 might be a bet. I'd be interested to see, again, it's one you could sort of watch the first couple of games and see how they settle in. But at those prices, I think Kruger's a play. I think she's definitely talented. She's a bit up and down. Hopefully she finds that consistency. But she's got all the tools. She has got, she's got the tools. She's got the ability. It's just now she's just got to find that consistency.
I can't wait for that one. There's so many good women's matches tomorrow that I'm going to sink my teeth in because it's first round matchups are great. On the men's side, and I want to look at the board, but I want to throw out a question. You can just tell me I'm wrong for even having this thought, Rory, but am I crazy given all the talk we just had about altitude and servers and everything we've said? Am I crazy to see maybe some value in Mapeshi Pericard at plus 135?
Do you know what? I looked at this one. I just thought his form wasn't quite good enough. You know, I mean, Navoni had an exit last week quite early against one of the players who I quite like tomorrow against David Goffin. And Goffin's sort of returning to form. Yeah, I mean, he's a great, you know, big server in Pesci Pericard. If he gets it going, Navoni's going to struggle, and Navoni's slipping down the rankings a bit, you know, because he had a big year last year, and you know he needs points. He needs some good performances, so there's a bit of pressure on him. The odds, I mean, Navoni's quite a big favourite. Yeah, Pesci. What price is in Pesci? It's kind of
plus 135. Yeah, plus 135 right now. Said value.
Yeah, like that could be interesting.
Value
overs could be interesting.
Yeah,
overs games, because it's going to be hard to break his serve here.
So
do you
like the tiebreaker props at all? Do you like the tiebreaker props at all?
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
what about this one?
If we plus money about there being a tiebreak, then I'm interested.
Are you on a fade Sakari kick, as Mandeep's pointing out here? Just the form hasn't been great.
Do you know what? I saw Sakari earlier this year, and I saw one match where she looked, I think she was playing Swiatek, and she looked quite good. But since then, she's been terrible. And I think she's outside the top 80 in the world now, which just shows, you know, when the wheels come off, they really come off. And she's, you know, she's quite, you know, this should be a place that suits her with her game. You know, she hits the ball hard, she does serve well, but the form is just really poor at the moment. So
this Pesci Pericard is the talk of the chat here on Bet Rivers, because we've got a lot of thoughts on this. People want to know. Navone's not. Is it the best bet of the day? Yeah, I remember that match last week. Now it's bringing back memories of winning a first set, Navone 6-love against Goffin, and then losing. That's the beauty of betting, right? You can say I'm backing a player or I'm just fading the opposition. So you can just give yourself your own reasoning. But yeah, that's a match to look at. There's other men's matches I did want to get your thoughts on. One of them being, and we were kind of looking at it before, but the all-Spanish affair between Jamie Munar and Bautista Agut, the veteran there. I don't know if the number's too big on Munar, too small. Bautista Agut isn't the player maybe that he was, but two Spanish players, I think, is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, it should be a good crowd for this one. I'd be tempted. I mean, I think Bautista Agut, he's got a good record in Madrid down the years, and I'd be quite keen on him. You know, he's quite a big underdog, I think. Plus 140, is he? Around that mark?
Yeah, I'm seeing 50.
Plus 150? I think that could be worth a dabble.
143 now. Yeah. I think it is worth a dabble for sure, given the support he's going to have, especially.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Nadal's not there anymore, and the crowd likes an old favorite as well. And Bautista Agut is certainly that. I mean, his form is nothing to write home about, but you could say the same about Munar.
You certainly could.
You know, I think between them, they've won 3 matches on clay this year. So neither's exactly pulling up any trees at the moment. And Bautista Agut, he did take the Dutchman Van der Zandschulp. He did take him to 3 sets. He was a slight underdog in that match. Munar did beat TFO in Barcelona. But I think TFO was coming off the back of a deep run the week before. So, I think we can forgive TFO that defeat. I think Bautista Agut, I think plus 150, plus 143. I think that's might be worth a look.
Look at the Ethan Quinn stats as that goes along. He's adjusted to a slight favorite in this match as it's trucking along. 4-all, 30-all, Monteiro serve. So that's a crazy one. One of the comments we got too was Quentin Halley's play against Darderi. Darderi hasn't really been playing his best, and Halley's another. We've said it again. It's like a drinking game at this point. But if he gets his serve going, he could be a problem on these courts. And that's the logic I was talking about. We're fading players in a lot of our bets round one.
Yeah, this was one I did like the look of. And the bet which interests me, which the prices aren't up yet, because I'd be quite interested in Halles on the spread in this one. Because again, that logic we said about Mpechi Pericard, he might be tough to break. I mean, it is his seasonal debut on clay, which would count against him. Darderi's obviously a clay specialist. He won in Marrakesh. He won the title in Marrakesh earlier this month. But Halles, if you can get that serve going, you never know.
Yeah. I got one for you too tomorrow, and I was looking at a way this match just intrigues me. One tiebreak, over half a tiebreak, plus 150 in the Mickelson-Bublik match. I think we're going to get one.
You think you'll get one there?
I think we will. Bublik could tank. That's the worry, right? Is he going to show up? But I actually think this matchup could be a good one because they're both going to be crushing serves. So,
I mean, if you're going to pick a place on clay for tie breaks, this is probably the one. It's two big servers going at it. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago here, it was really warm as well. That helped. I mean, the ace count was off the scale a couple of years ago because it was scorching, as well as the altitude which we get every year. And last year it was a bit cooler. It didn't play as quick, and this year it's pleasant, but it's not going to be hot. So it's not going to be that quick. But you've still got that advantage for the servers, the altitude, and I mean that was my angle for Halles, for Halles against Darderi. I think Halles, should enjoy these conditions, and the same could apply for Mickelson and Bublik. And just looking at Monteiro Quinn, it looks like we could be going to a tie break. It's Monteiro advantage at 4-all. It's going to be tight.
Yeah, the Munich final last week, Bublik or Shelton losing to Zverev, I should say. I expect both those players. Zverev's done well here. He's won here, but he can play well here. But players like that, Shelton on the clay on a surface like this in this environment, I think he's going to do well. So they're going to have the advantage. So we'll see. Rory, this has been a blast. Any final thoughts before we sign off here on Betting Weekly Live Tennis matches or final imparting words on Madrid?
Well, I mean, there's obviously some action now, so get betting in play and watch the action. Lulu Sun against Varvara Gracheva. Gracheva 5-2 up. Sun's about to hold by the looks of it, so that'll be 3-5. But I think tomorrow's action should be really exciting. And hopefully we get that daily double to come in. Lamens to beat Raducanu and Andreescu to get the better of McCartney Kessler. Hopefully they can come in for us.
Hopefully. And I'm just trying to look at the schedule. So we got, your bet of the day is the earlier matchup. So Lamens
the order of play has come through, has it?
I see an order of play. I mean, all subject to change, but Lamens is, I'm on Pacific time here, so I'm going to just do the math quickly. Looks about 8:10 Eastern time, not before, for Lamens Raducanu. We can if everyone could do the math in their respective time zones with that, but and then a couple hours after that, 10:30. So end of the day. They're going to pretty much end the day with a bang on Aranza Sanchez Stadium with Andreescu and Kessler. We can get a final thought here. 22.5 Thompson, Carballes, Baena. I'm a sucker for an over on clay when I think both players are showing potential. And I know the other thing too, Rory, especially on the men's side, seeing it, if you see players that fight and Thompson fights out there, I don't think he rolls over even when he's getting outplayed. So I could see that over hitting for sure.
I'm just looking. I've just seen, it looks like Carballes Baena might have withdrawn from that match. I don't know that for sure, but the screen I'm looking at says he's withdrawn. So I guess the Aussie will be facing someone else tomorrow, which is a shame because
that would not be good. And also have a big number on Marin Cilic as a favorite over Bonzi. So
yes,
they both withdrew.
Cilic he's back, isn't he? He's kind of rolling back the years.
Double withdraw. double withdrawal. So in a hypothetical world, that would have gone over, but we'll see.
Yeah, Carballo's Bayern has got a left hip injury by the looks
qualifier
of it.
versus qualifier, lucky loser versus each other. So, all right. Well, Rory, this is fun. Where else can we find you? Got more podcasts coming down the pike. Your betting weekly WTA podcast was a hit. I think people like it when you give out winners. Everyone just makes money. But when's the next episode?
Well, we had one yesterday, and one of my picks has already gone out, so that's a good start. Yeah, we've got Nigel has gone for one of the favourites. He's gone for Iga Swiatek. He thinks she's too big a price to ignore the defending champion.
Did you see who she plays next? Did you see?
Yeah, Alexiala, the Filipina, who beat her in, was it Miami? Or was it Indian Wells?
Miami.
It was somewhere in on the Sunshine Double. So that could be interesting. But we know how good Swiatek is on clay, even in these slightly quicker conditions. Iala's going to have her work cut out, but she's beaten her before. So lightning could strike twice. I went for a Katerina Alexandrova in the top half at quite a big price, just because she's playing very well and she's done well in Madrid in the past. But yeah, you can check out that podcast for the women's. And of course, the men's podcast was today as well. Nigel and Sean Calvert looking ahead to the men's main draw, which starts tomorrow. And Carlos Alcaraz, he just seems a bit short for me, Alcaraz. What do you think?
It didn't look good the end of that match. It did not look good how he was feeling, how he was moving. That always scares me. Also, when you're a bona fide major champion with bigger things in mind, I don't know that I like backing a number like that when you're going into a non-major, when you have bigger fish to fry. So, but someone's got to step up, right? We're in this weird time. This is the last tournament without Sinner. Is Zverev fully back? Is he going to step up? Can a player like Arthur Fees or somebody else make their move? This is why it's so fun to be a tennis fan. And to your other point, Rory, I do like Iga. There's only one thing that can stop her, and her name is Jelena Ostapenko. So just avoid Ostapenko at all costs.
They could meet in the last 16. I mean, Nigel was saying that he thinks Ostapenko could go out very early because her record after winning a tournament, the following tournament, she tends to bomb. Yes. So, and that would be no surprise of Ostapenko. She is feast or famine. She was fantastic last week. Brilliant yesterday in the final against Sabalenka, but she's just as likely to completely fold in the very next match because that's how she plays.
We've got some love for Kvitova tomorrow against Volynets. We'll have to monitor that one, and maybe it's time for Fonseca to go on a little run on the European clay. 50-1. That's just a crazy number. So with that, we're going to bid everyone adieu. This was Betting Weekly Live Tennis on the Bet Rivers Network. Make sure you download the app and make sure you follow along and follow us on socials at Because We Win. Rory, this was fun. Can't wait to do it again. All the best going forward, man.
And to you. And Quinn's got the break. Ethan Quinn has got the break. 5-4 up in the decider. He's serving for the match. He's minus 2,000 to win it. He just needs to cut out the double faults, as someone said earlier. Hopefully,
maybe an underhand serve. Maybe an underhand serve. It's all coming up American. But for Rory Giovanni, I'm Mitch Michaels. This was Betting Weekly Live Tennis on the Bet Rivers Network. Follow us on socials Because We Win. Maybe there's double faults coming. I don't know. This match might go on. It might end soon. But make sure you check us all out on the Betting Live Weekly Live Tennis schedule. It's 1 o'clock Eastern, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. For Rory Giovanni, I'm Mitch Michaels. This was Betting Weekly Live Tennis. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the tennis.